stages. Would you agree? When life is created and based on universal principles and the laws of mind, cause and effect, and mental equivalence, our experiences become a life of abundant flow. Each step along the way, progressing based on the steps that have come before. The stages of growth that we've experienced and from which we have emerged, evolved, like butterflies from a cocoon. In the science of mind philosophy, the form of prayer we use, often referred to as prayer treatment, is based on a series of 5 steps. Recognition, join in anytime. Unification, realization, thanksgiving, and release. These steps are part of the science when we refer to science of mind. We use these steps to create a consistent and successful process for creating focus and attracting more good into our lives. It's a way for our human minds to connect with divine mind, the God presence within. As we practice these steps, a mental pattern takes shape that allows us to change negative thoughts into positive ones. The 5 steps of spiritual mind treatment act as a trigger or a catalyst that more easily and quickly brings us into alignment with our higher self. They become a tool for creating our highest good. That's it. It's not a complicated process. There's no secret handshake or password to have the science of mind, philosophy, or prayer treatments be part of your everyday living. Once you embrace the ideas offered in each step, it becomes a way of life, a way of thinking. And you can take these 5 steps into every situation, every decision, every challenge, and apply them toward a resolution of whatever you're facing. Another series of steps, 12 of them, are associated with various recovery programs. Whether that be Alcoholics Anonymous, Al-Anon, Overeaters Anonymous, Narcotics Recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm sure there are more, but you get the idea. The people involved in one recovery plan or another are invited and encouraged to learn about and embrace the 12 steps of their program, so that step by step, they can overcome the patterns of their addiction and replace negative ways of thinking with positive ones. More positive methods of living and doing. These groups provide support to one another through sponsorship, like mentors, just like we support one another in our classes, through the lessons and information provided on Sunday morning, and throughout the material and the literature that we have that's available globally. Like Science of Mind, 12-step programs are spiritually based, welcoming people from all belief systems, all faiths. Some of the religious science historical literature strongly suggests that Ernest Holmes knew the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, that there was some connection between them. Given the timing of the publication of the Science of Mind textbook in 1926 and then again in 1938, with the first edition of what is called the Big Book in Alcoholics Anonymous, which came out in 1939, and the similarities, if you've ever read and compared these books, the similarities found in both of these materials, it's not unlikely that these leaders were aware of each other and that what they were doing with their work in the world. They may have even shared the idea and the importance of developing steps toward greater freedom from addiction and deeper understanding of spirituality and prayer. It's possible, even probable. So let's consider the concept of learning through steps from another perspective. How many of you have taken dance lessons at some time in your life? Me too. I'm sure that my husband and I will probably do it again. I've matured since the first time that we took it. In those first dance lessons, you are usually taught basic steps, foot movements that are supposed to be simple and easy at first. And as you learn and continue your lessons, more steps are added and the dances become more complicated. And then you add a partner. It's one thing dancing alone in your room, learning those steps, but to coordinate the dance with another individual who may not have the same skill level or interest as you do, well, can really mess things up, for one of you anyway. You can step on one another's feet, trip, make wrong turns, go in different directions, not hold each other properly, not give each other the right signals, feel rather restricted or stilted in your movements, or all of the above. Yet with practice, things start to smooth out. The flow of the dance becomes more natural, maybe even elegant. You start to notice the similarities in your steps and the movements and what styles of dance you prefer. And you build on that, one step, one dance at a time. There's an inner guidance and energy present that if both dance partners pay attention to it and stop resisting the flow, stop trying to control the power of the dance, such an energy directs you and your partner across the dance floor. One song to another, one style of dance to another, with ease and grace. I remember those moments of gracefulness. It's what kept me coming back. And how it feels like dancing with the divine, dancing with spirit, with God. It's a combination of this idea and the concept of working various recovery steps that provided the title for today's topic, Dancing the 12 Steps, Part 1, Loving, Forgiving, Trusting. Whether you're dancing with a human partner or creating a life through spirit, it's important to practice the steps, to implement one stage of understanding based on the knowing you have from previous experiences or awarenesses. Perhaps like me, you fully accept the idea that a person's growth can expand through an inner knowing just as easily, perhaps more readily, than having to physically or emotionally experience everything in life before going on to the next expression of evolution. So for example, do you really need to experience being homeless before you take steps to make your mortgage payments? Or get a second job so you can pay your rent? Of course not. Must you experience a devastating illness to keep your body healthy? Or to feel compassion for someone who is sick? No. These concepts of being responsible, staying healthy, expressing compassion come from a deep knowing that these steps are important for you to do for yourself, to progress through life. And that the stages of life unfold for each of us according to our own consciousness, our own boundaries, our own experiences and connections with others and so forth. Each stage of life, however we define it, has a beginning and an ending that becomes the beginning of the next, and the ending of the previous step, to infinity. Later in today's service, we get to recognize and honor the life of a woman who was instrumental in the early steps of bringing this church into formation. Her name is Dolores, we call her Chris Baddock. And she made her transition from this physical world to a spiritual one a few months ago. Chris didn't create this church by herself. That's not how it's done. But she connected with other people of like mind, and they danced in spirit with an energy that attracted people to the group. And together, these individuals formed the early church organization, which allowed science of mind to be taught and shared in the Parker community. We're now 11 years into doing this sharing. followed steps, made adjustments along the way, but maintained a unified vision for a spiritual community in this neighborhood, in this area. And we continue those early efforts of Chris and the ministers and the congregants, some of whom are still here today and in this room right now. Who was here 11 years ago? Yeah, a few of us. Beginnings and endings and beginnings again. Something else happened a couple days ago to provide another example of a new beginning. A first step in the dance of life with Spirit. Reverend Mike's oldest son and wife gave birth to their first child, a son, and our fifth grandchild, Clive Robert Ryan. We don't have any Clives in either side of the family, so it was a total surprise. The beginning of a new life is such a precious gift. All the potential of God is within that beautiful baby. All the potential of God is within each and every one of you right now. It doesn't go away. You can't use it all up. It's infinite after all. And whatever skills or ideas or talents you express in your own life does not take away from someone else's. Life's possibilities are unlimited, infinite. The first time I tried to get my head around that idea, that concept, I got dizzy. Imagine this. We each have 12,000 to 50,000 thoughts per day, depending on your age. Because newborn babies don't necessarily think the same as an energetic teenager or a wise woman or a rocket scientist, right? And apparently it also matters whether you're a casual thinker or a deep thinker. 12,000 to 50,000 thoughts per day. Multiply that times 7 billion people on this planet, and the numbers get crazy. And that's just one day. People thinking thousands of thoughts every day at the same time. Now multiply that times every person for each day of their lives for as long as the humans have been on this planet until the end of time when humanity no longer exists, if that ever happens. What about the animals? I know animals think. I know my dog thinks. I can see it in her face and in her behavior when she's either defending or playing. Life's possibilities are unlimited, infinite. I know and believe we can have, be, or do whatever we put our thoughts to consistently. Whatever we embrace as our own. Whatever we decide, whatever steps we decide to take toward creating that. So that's part one. Recognizing that having a process, taking steps in a particular direction will help you co-create your life. Because you don't do it alone. Whether it's the 12 steps of an anonymous recovery program, the 5 steps of prayer treatment, or recognizing the 2 steps of the law of cause and effect. 1, what you give out equals 2, what you get back. When you start dancing with Spirit, doing so through those steps makes it a little easier for you because you know how it works. And you also have this incredible dance partner, God, to help you through every endeavor. The steps and the dance are the process. God is the power and energy behind the process that supports and guides you. And your connection to this infinite stream of power and guidance and energy comes through love, forgiveness, and trust. Your first step, just like in prayer treatment work, just like in recovery work, your first step is to recognize that you might need a little help with something. Recognize things aren't working out or doing what you thought they were going to do. Because it was based on our human thinking rather than our guidance, our divine guidance. can restore you to sanity. That recognition would not even be possible if you didn't have love for yourself. Creating this church organization would not have been possible if there had not been some type of recognition or a desire to share these principles, this philosophy, with others. Recognition is also about admitting that we need help, that we can no longer do it alone, or that we choose not to do it alone. Often, the first step is the hardest. Asking for help, turning to God, connecting with a teacher, a practitioner, a sponsor, or going to a meeting, or walking in these doors. Taking the first step, admitting powerlessness over an addiction, is an expression of love. For yourself, yes, and maybe for the people around you too. And let me clarify something here. Powerlessness is not helplessness. You are helping yourself when you choose to move in the direction of prayer or recovery or intention setting, to create the greater and more positive vision for your life. Taking the first step helps to replace some of those feelings of powerlessness with conviction, putting you back on course. It takes love and courage and humility to take the first step, and the next, and the next. Each building on the previous one. To learn from those who have walked the path before you. Taking that first step means letting go of past mistakes and condemnations, of forgiving yourself for wrongs you've done toward yourself and others. It means recognizing the spiritual nature of who you are. It means being willing to learn new ways of being and expressing your God self, your true nature, your true colors, as we heard in the song. It means trusting in good, in God, and in the unlimited possibilities of something different than what you've been experiencing. It means trusting with a deep inner knowing that what you desire for your life is really possible, that you have more potential than you've been demonstrating up until now. Taking positive and directive steps, loving, forgiving, and trusting in a divine power, dancing in the light of Spirit, will create a life of joy. Events will unfold with ease and grace. Wisdom is gained. You also learn patience and compassion. You can be happy in any situation or experience. Ernest Holmes wrote in the Science Mind textbook, "When we learn to trust the universe, we shall be happy, prosperous, and well." While in the big book of AA it states, "Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny." Abandon yourself to God. Surrender yourself to God. Trust in God. Have the faith of God. Now, there's a tall order. How many of us have the faith of God? That's what Holmes tells us to do. Every single one of us has done this. We surrender to life when we're born, like Clive just experienced. Every single one of us will do it again when we take our last earthly breath, as Chris did, as we all will. We abandon this physical form of expression for another. Between birth and death of our physical bodies, we get to make millions of decisions, thousands of thoughts a day. Once we grow from infancy to childhood to adulthood and are conscious of ourselves, we can make those decisions and choose our directions in life, either in a haphazard, unstructured, perhaps ignorant manner, and just see what comes up for us. purpose and passion. In either case, we are backed by the unconditional love and law that is God. Holmes wrote that we should learn to trust life. There is no power in the universe which wishes anyone ill. Life is good, and God is good. Why not accept this and begin to live? No man or woman need prepare to meet his or her God. You are meeting God every day and each hour in the day. You meet God in the rising sun, in the flowing stream, in the budding rose, in the joy of friendship and love, and in the silence of your own soul. Nice. The first step in dancing with Spirit is to recognize your partner in life, your eternal partner. One that will never leave you, always loves you, wants only good for you, breathes your first breath and your last, co-creates with you whatever you can imagine and on which you choose to focus your attention and intentions. That divine intelligence, or God, higher power, spirit, whatever name you choose to call it, is always with you. The first step leads to a loving and trusting heart, a life of abundant growth, a mind of unlimited ideas and thoughts, and a soul filled with peace and joy. A journey of 5 steps, or 12 steps, or 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So regardless of which journey you're on right now, please get this, trust this, know this, embrace this passage from Holmes. Whether waking or sleeping, that every step of the way, God goes with us. Let's have a prayer.